One reason why sauropods became my favorite dinosaur clade was simply the awesome size. It's hard to fathom, when you're used to being dwarfed by even the extant elephant or hippo, just how much bigger these dinosaurs were. Sauropods are synonymous with big, yet the hadrosaurs, my sometimes second favorite dinosaur clade, also got to some large and even fairly sauropodian sizes. And by far the largest is today's star, the Shantungosaurus. The name means lizard from Shantung, from the Shantung province in China. It measured an incredible 15 to 17 meters, or 49 to 56 feet. This model measures 40 centimeters, accounting for this slight curve, and for 1 to 35 represents an animal about 14 meters, so just shy of the lower estimate. Taking the lower estimate of 15 meters would make it 1 to 38 scale. So yes, it could be bigger, but it is a big model, as you'll appreciate later during the comparisons. And it weighs about 815 grams, or 1.8 pounds. There are two color variants, the brown and the green. Both are so big, it's hard to fit them both on screen. Compared to their large sauropods, Haolonggood has chosen not to be elaborate in the paint application. Consequently, if you favor simpler schemes in large animals, you'll like it. And if you're used to mega representatives of their clades being dressed up, you'll be disappointed. The pose is a very ponderous walk, as befits its immense bulk. Let's look at the brown. Our first impressions is that this is a face only a mother could love. There's a strange decision made to shrink wrap here in the infraorbital area, and the inferior part here. And there is something skeletal about the visage of this animal. This dividing seam doesn't help matters, and the inferior border of this inflatable nasal soft tissue completes that impression for me. Still, you can see that the detail is really exquisite. The eyes are carefully painted with the blue sclera. The skin detail around the eye really speaks to high standards. And even in humble areas like this supraorbital ridge, it just looks so pleasing. And down these nasal pouches with a modest orange accent, and then to the premaxilla. Look at those details there. And back up. This thing is so chock full of tiny scale details. A quick look inside the mouth, and hints of that powerful grinding battery of teeth. The tongue is also very textured. And when we look at the neck, this further trumpets the kind of detail you'll see on this animal. On small models, the exquisite sculpting by Haolonggood speaks volumes. On such a large model, the sense of ultra-fine detailing is even louder. Not to mention the very fine skin creases in the neck. And here you see what could be a weakness in the paint application. The use of this dry brushing certainly brings out the detail very sharply, but you'll see in several areas it seems a little forced and doesn't really work out as naturally as we've seen before. Some even look like scuff marks. So I hope it's just on my copy. Now into the body, and here we get to the real serious business end of razor sharp definition. Now this model is replete with detail, and really I have no choice but to bring in my arm again. And throughout, you'll see a consistent level of mastery. Just look at how these fine scales get even finer as we move distally to that beautifully shaped hand with that characteristic hoof. And as we go back here, through a genius of paint application, or perhaps even some planned sculpting, what do we see here? Not just more of the same, but rather those polygonal basement scales that we see in some skin samples from Lambeosaurus, which you'll also see in other places, such as the flank, and also the thigh. Now, haha, keep in mind that 1 centimeter reference, so these are obviously too big for 1 to 35. But it's really delightful to be reminded of them. While over here, they look like the kind you get from Corythosaurus. This aside though, the paint application isn't as flamboyant as we've seen in their largest sauropods, and look a lot more subdued. Nonetheless, with plenty of paint application complexity in the different regions of the body. And a look with the almond is warranted here. And going down the hind limb, you can see that sharp and delicate skin detail, along with comparatively fine skin folds, which really enhances the look of the integument. Just look at how fine the scales are. And down the other limb, just stunning. Fine is really the word. Exquisite fineness, 2 words, beyond which I kind of run out of adjectives. Even this humble area needs my almond. I love how these fine scales just kind of dress these tendons, almost like an ultra finely interwoven mesh draped over the various structures. And up here in the back, we go down that nicely sculpted line of central osteoderms, while admiring the detail along the spine. Then all the way down the tail. And on the underside, very nice detail. But you'll see that the rather stark dry brushing sometimes spoils the illusion a bit. And here, even the form of the cloaca is different from usual. And if you see these almost semi-lunar valve-like soft tissues, themselves with their own scale morphology. So there we have the brown version of the Shantungosaurus. What a nice looking mega hadrosaur, one that many of us have been waiting for. Just look at the elegant form of it. Now let's get to the green. So first of all, I apologize. My camera is a little off today and it's not capturing certain greens very well, but I hope you'll get the idea here. Now I really do wish for larger mega animals, Haolonggood wouldn't use the same old lazy stencil pattern for both variants. Fortunately, because of the color, the similarity won't be obvious, and in fact, the way these markings are somewhat subsumed into the surrounding dark color gives it a very naturalistic look. Starting at the head, we see more contrast in the nasal pouches thanks to the choice of complementary colors, and the textures are just as nice to see. The eyes this time have a yellowish sclera, and again, you can see what a good model this is. The same detail we saw in the brown is here of course, though I feel they're harder to see in some areas. But of course, there'll be the same variation in scale detail, and all of it just as small, intricate, and exquisite. So just a once-over. As I've said in another video, sometimes not being able to see excellent work so obviously at first lends a model some realism, as not all animals are coloured by nature to advertise every scale, crease, or osteoderm. Another thing to note is that because of the less obvious dry brushing, there's a cleaner look to the green, especially on the underside. The tail, this time ending more obviously in a slightly different color, an idéfix with Haolonggood. So that's it for the green as well. Let's get to some comparisons. First, a quick comparison to each other. Again, both are the exact same sculpt, so it really boils down to which color appeals to you more. Unfortunately, I no longer have my PNSO Shantungosaurus, which would have been the obvious first comparator. I do, however, have the next best thing, the sister taxon Edmontosaurus, also by PNSO. Next, let's see Haolonggood's Edmontosaurus. And here, I think you can understand that while Shantungosaurus may be a hair smaller than you'd hope, it certainly isn't by as much as this Edmontosaurus was. You also see that beautiful muted green I absolutely love from Haolonggood. Then, another large hadrosaur is the Parasaurolophus. But you can see how after the PNSO Edmontosaurus, it looks slightly less impressive. The irony, of course, is that these were big animals, as we put in perspective with a look at our 1:35 humanoid. And just for another idea, here's the Collecte African bush elephant. Now, just in terms of size, regardless of scale, here's my PNSO Corythosaurus, another beautiful hadrosaur. Now, a look at a smaller hadrosaur from Haolonggood. Here's the Haolonggood Saurolophus. Shantungosaurus lived in Zhucheng, and fittingly of course, here's the contemporaneous PNSO Zhucheng Tyrannus. Here's the PNSO Sinoceratops. And here's the Haolonggood version of Sinoceratops. To understand the truly awesome size of Shantungosaurus, here's the Haolonggood Camarasaurus. The Haolonggood Mamensisaurus. And even more sobering, the Haolonggood Apatosaurus. And finally, our usual PNSO Wilson T-Rex and the Cameron T-Rex. So that's it for the Haolonggood Shantungosaurus. What an offering, continuing their tradition of giving the people what they want. Haolonggood has shown us it's not afraid of giving us truly large dinosaurs in 1:35 scale, as proven by their titanosaurs. And so, I was always hoping they'd do the Shantungosaurus, and now they have. I'm really happy, and really excited to see what else they'll think of. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next video.